We all know that we should follow up with our database, but how to do that follow up is the question we want to talk about today. Now, not all loan officers struggle with this. Some people are natural born salespeople who easily start conversations and maintain connections and stay in touch with a large network. But I'm personally not that way, and I don't think a lot of loan officers are. So if you're the kind of loan officer who is a natural, you have this dialed, that's awesome. But for the rest of us, I want to talk about the frameworks and scripts on how to engage with one of your contacts that's in your database, maybe someone that you've worked with in the past, or just a connection that you've lost touch with. This is about how to re-engage those people, how to reconnect with them. Before we get into the how, let's talk about the who. The who to follow up with. How do you prioritize that follow-up? Do you just start with the A's in your contact list? It may sound menial, but it's not. That is why we really recommend using a data-driven system to identify the qualifying contacts whose behavior and scenario indicate that they are the most likely to be in the need of a mortgage in the short term. Once you have identified who you're going to follow up with, though, the first step is to reconnect to the past. That is, introduce yourself. Make the connection to your last or most key interaction with them. That might look like, hey Jane, this is William LeBaron with MonitorBase. I helped you buy your last home. Or you taught my daughter in the 3rd grade. Or you helped me buy my Toyota Tacoma. You get it. It's just reminding them of how they know you and why they should care. Exchange the pleasantries. This is someone you know personally, so it's okay and actually important to take the time in reconnecting. The second step, though, is to transition to the topic or the reason for the call. The key to this step is trying to tie it back to why you are calling or why you chose to follow up with them today. If you are going A to Z in your Rolodex, this is hard. An impromptu annual review often feels awkward. At its worst, it feels like unsolicited advice, which is why we recommend following up based on real data-driven insights that indicate they are in the market or just about to be in the market. So using that kind of insight, this step would look a little bit like, so the reason I'm calling is I have a system that periodically pre-qualifies my contacts who look like they might be considering some sort of mortgage, like buying, selling, or refinancing. Your name actually popped up as someone who would be a very likely home seller. So I'm calling you today just wondering if you'd considered selling your home. Now, the key at this point is asking a question with a really high probability of getting a yes. But also, there's a very high probability of getting a but after that yes. It's a yes, but. Let me give you an example of that. I asked if they'd considered selling their home, and just like basically every other red-blooded American today who owns a home, they've seen what home values have done in the past few years, and the answer is yeah, we thought about it, but when we looked at the home prices, it just didn't make sense to try and move up, even if it meant capturing all of this equity that we have over here from recent appreciation. See how it works? It's a yes, but here's my excuse. Here's why I haven't sold my home, or we've thought about it but decided not to. The third step is to give value, and keep in mind, most people get stuck here, which is unfortunate because it's exactly where you want the conversation to go. But if you don't know what to do at this step, you'll usually find yourself either agreeing with them and being rushed off the call, or arguing with them and creating conflict. The key here is to first acknowledge their point of view. Maybe you have some statistics to prove them wrong and show them how that viewpoint could cost them the home of their dreams or thousands of dollars of appreciation or any number of other reasons that you have readily available, but you're not going to focus on any of that today. You're going to agree, empathize, and then you're going to do something really simple. You're going to tell them a story. The story should be easy for you as a loan officer. You deal with people all of the time, so you just have to tell them a story about somebody like them who had similar fears or concerns, and they overcame those fears and it worked out well for them. So in our earlier example, that might look like, I know exactly what you mean. My wife and I have had that exact conversation with so many of our friends and neighbors. I actually had a client recently in a really similar situation to you. They'd owned their home for 5 years. They were in this equity position, right? Connect back to them. And they were having the same concerns as you. They were afraid that buying homes at the current value was just outside of their reach, even with the hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity. But we were talking and doing the math, and because of the market, they were able to find, their dream home and tell about the process of how it worked out for them to be a huge win, even though they were initially afraid or had those same fears and concerns. The key is not to argue or try and defend your viewpoint. It's really just about telling a story. People connect with stories, people believe stories, and people remember stories, which is where the fourth step comes into play. It is simply to have that conversation, ask questions, and understand them better. If you seek to understand them first, you'll be able to either see that they are in the best situation for them, or you might see that they have a better opportunity to make a change. Regardless of what you see, understanding them gives you the relationship, the connection, and the trust to guide them to their own decision. More often than not, that means you're going to connect and leave that call without taking an application, which is 100% fine. Maybe you can find context and a reason to follow up, send some information, do some research, answer a question that they had, help them out. You'll be shocked at how often these people will come back to you in 30 or 45 or 90 days, ready to move forward, ready to make a change. If you hadn't reached out, you would never have had the opportunity. But if you'd reached out but argued, you might have never created the trust and missed the opportunity anyways. There's way more business in your database of relationships than most loan officers ever realize. A loan officer with 1,000 contacts in their database, people that they already know, is often missing 7 to 8 mortgage transactions every single month because they don't have a relationship retention strategy that works. To learn more about our playbooks and scripts and how MonitorBase can help you turn your database of relationships into a source of ongoing business, reach out to MonitorBase today.